I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. Today is Tuesday, May 21st, 2019. This is the Mitchell County Board of Supervisors meeting. We have an agenda in front of us. We have one little change. We're going to put a number 9 on the bottom, and we have a fireworks permit. Doug Havig come in with it, and it is for Jeff Michaels. So we're going to have that as number 9. Other than that, is there any comments, questions, changes?
No, but next week I will not be here. Osage is lacking a driver to go to Minneapolis. They can't find anybody else. So.
Okay. I think Barb and I can handle it.
And if we're something we want to wait, we'll wait.
Yep. Other than that, do we have any motions?
Is this just for the agenda?
Yes.
Also move.
Second.
Barb has made a motion, Stanley has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approve the minutes of May 14th meeting and the claims. So hopefully we've read the minutes. And
Yes, and Lowell already made a change of the, just 5.
Yeah,
As
I
far
had
as the 10 that were
with the
checked
sheriff
by
and-
the
Just to be sure, so.
police department. Was that done by the police or the sheriff?
No, Barb, what Lowell's reporting is what my office did.
Your office?
Yeah, we're responsible to
Yeah.
10 businesses in the county, so
Yeah.
we're
That
at
was
50%.
kind of sad that only half passed.
Well,
so with that change, Barb
I'll move
has
to.
made a motion.
Second.
Stanley is seconded. Roll call, Barb.
Aye.
Stanley.
Aye.
Smolik, aye. County Attorney General discussion.
I just have a couple things, and one of them you may have already addressed. You had the request from St. Ansgar for the $500. I don't know if you've addressed that or not already. I don't have a problem as the county attorney saying it's a public purpose. The only issue I have is, we adopted that new resolution that said if you want to make an application, this is what you need to do, and that doesn't follow that application. I would, if we're going to adopt a resolution, we probably should require people to follow it, rather than just say we want $500 for this.
Okay, what was this for? 'Cause
Town and Country Day for the helping with the advertising and that.
You guys may not even have it
Oh, I was
yet.
gonna say, I never saw
Oh,
it.
okay. Stan probably got it, gave it to me to look at, just to see if
Okay.
it's something. So, because like St. Ansgar and Carpenter, in the past, they've always made requests for $500.
Right,
for
Riceville.
For their lots.
Stacyville.
Yeah. And they had made a request, and it just says, we want $500 for Town and Country Days, or whatever it's called. And I suppose Stan delivered that to me, for my opinion, does it serve a public purpose? Well, I don't have a problem saying, yeah, trying to have this does serve a public purpose, but I think it needs to follow the request. If you just want to say, okay, here's a copy of the resolution, please put it, please answer these questions, and then it's up to you guys whether you want to approve it or not, but I don't have a problem saying
I want to follow that.
Yeah. So if you just want to get back to it.
Okay, we got the resolution passed, right?
Yes.
If you make a copy of that today, well, right after.
I don't have it.
The resolution?
Oh, the resolution, I said, I don't have a copy of the request.
No, resolution, I'll take it back to Kathy Falk and.
Okay.
and
Sorry, I misunderstood you.
The second thing is, and this is just one of these, how things kind of spiral, the county care building, the thought was we're going to keep this under $100,000, then we don't need to go through the public. We're going to have a separate, simple set of plans, a simple bidding thing. And all of a sudden I get this sheet, that says, here's the contract, and I didn't print it off. I don't remember how many pages long it was. And
200.
200 and some for us, you know, and it's like, and then we need to have this reviewed before we send it to the printer, and what the heck are they sending it to the printer for? Why does, you know? I
And
mean,
what was this for?
The
the
county
services, county services, using county care.
Oh, okay, county services building,
Services building.
where, you know, we're trying to keep it
It
simple.
was supposed to be a
So-
simple remodel and it turned into a fiasco.
Yeah, and now all of a sudden, just the architect's bidding sheet is 220 pages long.
What kind of price did you have to glimpse at, what kind of price they're up
Well,
to?
Yes, one above and one below. It's going to go the correct route now.
You're gonna go public bidding.
Yes.
Okay, well, I don't wanna say it's correct or incorrect. The theory is, if you legitimately think the project is gonna be under $100,000, but if it's close, and we always know if it's 90,000, it's probably gonna be over,
Yeah.
don't take the chance, because you're just asking for problems. You're just
So-
asking for trouble.
We are going to have it put up for bid
Okay, so,
around November, early November, and then hopefully we can open that bids up and they can start work January 1st. But that's just say so right now.
Yeah.
Things can change.
and this is just me not fully understanding things.
Well,
I mean, from a building aspect, I don't see how to redo the EVAC or HVAC system can be $40,000. I mean, that to me just seems, that's what they're estimating just for the HVAC system.
my thinking was 40,000 on the HVAC, 30,000 to have Scott and Anderson do, so that's 70 right there.
Well, the architect doesn't, that's not included.
Okay, but just the same, I had some trial run, and one was over, one was under. No,
Yeah.
we'll do it the legit way, put it up for bid.
Well, I don't want to say legit, I think the cautious way, because you could go the other route, but the problem is if the bids come over 100,000, then
It
you're
was
saying.
gonna end up over 100,000,
Yeah.
no ifs, ands, or buts about it,
Okay.
in my mind.
Okay.
So,
I think that's the more cautious and conservative way to go, so.
Yes.
That makes me happy,
yeah,
as your attorney.
I don't wanna get yelled at any more than I have to.
I'll try not to yell.
Well, you wouldn't be the one doing it.
That's all I have.
Okay, does,
No, you had an item here last week about doing a
Oh.
access.
Yeah, I had sent you that email, and this all started out about 15 years ago. I don't even know if you were on the board then.
I was on the board for 19 years.
Okay, you were here then. Were you on when Vern was on?
Huh?
Were you on when Vern was on?
See, Vern got elected that July or that, when Lowell and I were running. I mean, we already made the primary.
Okay.
And so, yeah, Vern only had about 7 months seniority on me.
Yeah. So basically what it was is the hotel motel tax, 50% of that has to be used to promote tourism. And I had come to the board saying, you know, why don't we put a cement access in down at Two Poles? I don't know what the official name for Two Poles.
2 poles.
2 poles.
We all know it.
Official name. And the board said, yeah, why don't you get a price together? And I went to the conservation board and they said, yeah, it's a good idea. And then a year later, yeah, it's a good idea. And, you know, nobody ever wanted to take charge. Well, I had talked to Joe Goodale about a year ago and he said, yeah, I'd be willing to take charge. So now, you've all seen the emails. I told Adam he needs to get us to the board a written request for the money outlining how much it's gonna cost, what they're all going to do. So he's working on that. Of course, he's got other things to do. It's not a real priority item right now. I'm sure it's not gonna get done this year, probably, but maybe. I mean, they've just got too much stuff going on there. So,
That was something that group, that Lindsay Falk, is kind of heading, that they've discussed that as a possibility, even though it's something that they think needs to be done.
yeah.
And a lot of people have claimed that it's quite dangerous trying to get their families in and out of the river.
I don't know if it's dangerous, it's just money.
Well, well, I think they're thinking like if they're taking grandma and little kids and they're trying to get them back up through that mud.
So as soon as conservation gets that request together, I'll present that to the board. But until we get a written request and follow the procedure.
I have a question. How do you actually access the hotel tax money? Anybody know?
Anybody know?
Run that by me.
How would we actually access that hotel tax money?
Well, it's in a separate account.
Yeah.
A
And-
separate account
In the
here?
treasurer's office.
Okay,
I mean, Barb has the balance and
I didn't know if that was something you had to go away to
They
say
come
for,
out,
or,
they come out quarterly from the state of Iowa.
okay. You don't have to know how much is in
we only take in 6,000 or 7,000 a year. I mean, it isn't a
it.
lot.
I think that's what
It's
last
pretty
time I
much-
asked, somebody said probably 5,000-6,000.
It's pretty much,
Wasn't there something else we talked about using hotel tax for though too?
Well, that's what these $500, you know, for the barbecue bash, and that comes out of that hotel
yeah.
tax. So,
Anything else for the good of the cause?
See, that's a benefit that Worth County has again with the casino. I think their share of the hotel motel tax is around 130,000, 140,000 a year with those two,
Yeah, sure.
so there's a lot of indirect benefits that come from that.
okay, well, Mark, I think that everybody, the board has no more questions for you.
Greg Bieber has alerted me to a possible problem that might be rearing its head, which is Mr. Kephart is apparently being asked to leave the city of Osage. So I think a lot of this stuff he'd been storing in the houses that Tres Amigos had bought and they're going to tear down. So all that stuff's gonna come out of those houses, and I'm assuming it's gonna go back to New Haven. So we'll be dealing with that again, I'm assuming.
He's also moving things out on another property near New Haven.
Well, if it's out in the country and it's zoned agricultural, we're not so concerned with it.
It is out in the sticks, so.
Okay. So hopefully that's where everything goes, you don't have to deal with it. That's it, thank you.
Thank you.
I have a quick, I just want to pass it out, and I don't need you, Mark. I just happened to get from Stacyville Daycare their first bill. Or receipt, I should say. And I didn't want to be the only one having the copy, in case it got misplaced.
Is there any more information that goes along with this, or is that something you're gonna say later in the meeting?
Well, I just wanted to pass it out while I was thinking of it. I don't really have any comments on it or anything.
Okay, we will let Greg have the floor this morning.
Good morning, everyone. I have, April fees for you of $4,084.20.
Down considerably.
We'll do better next month.
Not asking you.
It cycles. We'll take all we can get though. Rose does a good job collecting and room and board. That's a big impact when we don't hold for other counties, you know, so. Anyway, that's what it is this month, so. Excuse me, month of April.
How many you? This
We
one?
have two this morning. We had one bound out on Sunday. One did his time and, he was out. So just two this morning. Court service day, so maybe we'll end up with more by the end of the day.
What's the in for?
So we're holding one for B.G. Clark. The violation is, parole, picked him up over the weekend. And then we're holding one on a judgment and sentence.
So move to approve.
Yes, we need to approve this. Stanley has made a motion.
I'll second that.
Barb has made a second. Roll call, Stanley.
Aye.
Barbara.
Aye.
Smollett, aye.
I know it's something simple, but remind me, what does WP stand for?
Weapons permits that we
Thank
issue.
you. I knew it was gonna be something.
Yep.
Other than that, is there any more excitement?
Yeah, I do have another item, I guess, I want you guys' thoughts on it. So I have a resignation letter from Ray Huffman that'll be effective July 1st. So that creates a part-time opening in EMA when Ray leaves. Our E911 is also a part-time position. With Chris Olson filling the remaining hours of his full-time status as a dispatcher. So he works part-time EMA, part-time as dispatch, and has his full-time status. The thought is, my thought and others that are in that business is to make E911 and EMA one position. Is that something that I take to the, those two commissions? And that decision is made? Is it something the board decides on? What's your guys' thoughts on that? How should that look moving forward?
I think you have to ask the county attorney that.
Yeah, legally I would know, wouldn't you know? So.
I'll send an email tomorrow. He did leave, right?
He did leave, yes.
Because those positions do a lot of the same work, but yet different.
What about,
And you wanna combine?
Yes, that
Should
should,
we
I mean,
get-
it makes
that
sense to
should be
me.
one position.
can we give our approval of such here without, just an approval saying that we would go along with
We've
it?
done this a lot of times. We approve subject to,
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I would be
subject to the
fine with
county
that.
attorney.
So if this board is good with it and Mark green lights it, I still though have to probably go to both those commissions. Or not.
Well, both of those commissions, probably each one is actually responsible to hire that individual. I mean, you're following what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do, that's what I'm,
So, I mean, I don't know that either one of those could say, no, you can't work this other place, because, I mean, they're part-time. But it would be up to each commission to,
and so if we combine that, then that budget combines. You have probably one budget for both those departments. And then whoever would be hired for that position then would be full-time.
It would still make sense, then everybody would know what was going on.
One central point of contact in times of emergency
Yes.
is pretty critical. And this is a good time to do that, if you're retiring out. So,
Perfect.
if you guys,
I wouldn't think the 911 board would have any problems.
a lot of the same faces sit on both boards, but.
I mean, it would basically be your, the board that oversees Ray that might have.
Legally to talk to them, but sounds like we're for it.
I would say that we would, if we would have a motion that would approve, the approval of this, with the
Also
agreement
move.
of both commissions and the county attorney.
Also move to combine,
Subject to the county attorney's approval.
correct,
Correct.
Okay.
subject.
Second.
Barb has made the motion. Stanley is seconded. Roll call, Barb.
Aye.
Stanley.
Aye.
Smollett, aye. So,
Okay, that is good. I don't know what those two budgets look like and how that will look when it gets combined.
To refresh myself.
I don't know that there'll need to be any adjustments to those budgets after July 1st, because they're already set.
Well, we do a
If we need-
budget amendment in
Yeah.
November, and we do another one in May.
But we do theirs differently, because they're separate. Because there is, I think there's one still coming up, budget amendment.
Yeah, for race budget.
Yeah, since they have their own board, they set their own.
Right. Just so you're aware of those things.
Yep.
Chris will probably have an opinion if he wants to try to get more and for what?
Yeah, we'll post the position and we'll interview whoever, applies and is qualified.
Sure,
But
yeah.
it just makes sense, so,
Nothing is set in stone, it's still all open,
Yeah.
for everybody to
yep,
come to
Be fair.
a fair end here.
right. Right.
Do you guys all know they're gonna meet on the emergency handbook with Dave, I know is, next week, after our meeting, whoever's available.
Guess
On the emergency handbook,
I did not know that.
well, they just decided that they would, go through it next Tuesday, cause I told them I had went through it and I had jotted some notes I wanted to give to them. So maybe they were just having,
So that's next Tuesday
Mhm,
here,
after
right
our
after
meeting.
this meeting.
if we have time, yeah.
I just thought of something and didn't think of it at the time, but this you just talked about actually was not on the agenda. Should this really be on the agenda prior to doing approval?
I
Something
didn't
of
know
this
that could be
magnitude?
considered part of the sheriff's report, but it is, yeah, rather unique.
That's another thing I think the county attorney should be.
Well, we can put it on again for
Yeah,
next
we
week.
can
Yeah.
redo this all next Tuesday.
I won't be here, but you get the gist of it, I'm going fishing,
Okay?
so,
I won't be here neither, so.
Can you get Chris to come?
again, yeah, and Ray could come probably also, but, yeah, I won't be here next week, but kind of understand what the thought process is, and we won't do anything until after July 1 anyway,
Right.
so it's kind of, this morning was just to
Good time.
bring you up to speed on the resignation letter, and then how I'd like to move forward with those two departments if I have much to say about it, so.
So we can run wild next week.
Well,
That's right. Stanley's not here
some
next
people
week.
pay for their sins in the past, so I'll run too wide.
Yeah, that's on my agenda.
This week, on the 23rd, which is that Thursday, Carrie Pilgrim, we're having a coffee for Carrie, she's retiring out. So from 1 to 3 at the sheriff's office, if we want to have cake and coffee and just wish her well, you're all invited to come. Everybody in the room's invited to come. Carrie's done well for us for 17 years, I guess, and Rich a long time prior to that, so,
And what time did you say, 3?
1 to 3.
1 to 3.
Okay, I've got it written down. That might have been what I was thinking about. I knew something was coming up, I just didn't write it down. Okay,
So
thank you.
that, let's.
Computers, laptops.
Yeah, so we operate under Windows 7 in a lot of our laptops, which will no longer be supported in 2020. Doesn't mean they won't work, it's just if there is an issue, we can't get the support. So I would like to start to phase in some that need to be updated. So Casey has found 4 of them for me at a total price of $2,559.96. Oop, scratch that, $2,739.60. So I'd like to order them and get them operational in the sheriff's office.
Sounds like we have another resolution for next Tuesday.
Well, no, I mean, you got money in your budget, we'll cover that.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't know
So,
what
no,
the
you
issue
don't-
is.
No, we can,
No.
we don't need to.
No, we
all
just
right.
discovered when we were going through the employee handbook that anything technically over $500 should probably be at least giving us the heads up type thing. So, no, there's not really an issue.
There shouldn't be a tax on that.
How much time
Yeah, you're right.
Well-
Take care of that.
That's a little different.
Yeah.
Where'd you end up getting the laptops?
That quote's through Newegg.
No, okay, that's what
No.
you're telling me about.
Hey, I got 3 or 4 of them. That was the best price. So
So much of it's cheaper online
Oh.
than, some of our suppliers that we should not save the money.
Sure. And we got somebody in the know who knows how to set them up.
We do now. Yes, we save that cost,
Yeah.
so that's good.
So then,
So that's, yeah, I have the money to
okay,
phase them in.
Yep.
Probably get a few more next year to get up to that Windows 10 operating level. Kind of
consensus is go for it.
all right. Sounds good, thank you. That's all I have.
All righty, thank you, good luck fishing.
Thanks,
Have fun.
thanks.
Have fun.
Yeah.
Hope you don't go where it's snowing.
Hope it isn't snowing.
Me either, maybe we should go south instead of north.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
You bet. Hey, Lindsay, let's go.
County engineer, good morning, Richard.
I got a meeting at 10,
All right, we'll shove this through.
so I got a list, so. First of all, the salt bids came in from the state letting. Last year we paid $84.10 a ton. This year's a little higher at $89.32. So last year we spent $142,000 on salt, $143,000, we were gonna spend $152,000. So prices are gone up again. So it's, I think we worked about the same amount of salt as we did last year. So just an update on that. So that'll be coming whenever we need it. Both of our new trucks are here. We had gotten one and had to send it back up north for a part. And then before the other one came, they had to put, I think they had to put the same part in the new one. It was just a sensor that was bad. So the last one showed up on Friday. So you'll probably be seeing some over $500 bills coming up through there.
See, you always give us a heads up.
It'll be more like 500,000.
Yeah.
So anyway, we had some bridges looked at last week on Indigo, a couple of small short span ones that don't get put on our normal routine for the NBIS National Bridge Inspection System. So they turned out really good, actually better than we thought. There was one on the north end just south of 480th that may have some issues that may need to be closed or partially closed, but I haven't gotten that report yet back, so it may be okay. I looked at it yesterday and there are some issues with it, but I don't know if it's how critical are the engineers haven't called back yet to tell me. So as of now, we're just gonna operate as it is. It could be something we need to expedite.
And what criteria is different that you don't have it on the normal list?
They have to be on the national bridge system, they have to be a span of 20 feet or longer. And that's what they consider a bridge. That's what the feds consider a bridge. Anything less than that, they consider a crossing or a whatever. So anything less than 20 feet in span. And they go from bridge seat to bridge seat. So if it's less than 20 feet, it doesn't qualify for bridge funding or anything like that. So they're considered smaller structures. So anyway, just have an update there. We may see something, but I haven't heard anything yet. I expected to see something yesterday, but nothing came through, so it must not be too urgent. I emailed last week about DD6. There was a hole south of Carpenter. I don't know if you would rather have the landowner that farms that just contact somebody to fix. I think I sent a picture out too.
Yes.
There's just a misalignment between, and I think that misalignment, I think that's where that sewer line runs, I think, from.
Do you guys
Hartford
need
down
to
the
see a
lagoon.
picture?
I think I emailed everybody the picture.
Yes.
There's a misalignment, created a suck hole in the plastic and clay pipe, so
That's an active drain.
that's an active area, DD6 main.
Check, see if there's any money.
I emailed Barb and she said there was a few $100s in it, but I don't know if, but it's cut into the field, so, they can probably farm around a little portion of it, but it needs to get fixed, it's pretty deep cut.
It looks like it's had a recent repair, not, with
Well,
plastic.
yeah, and I don't know if that plastic was put in when the sanitary sewer line went to the lagoons, or if that's a different line, I don't know how that line went, but you can see how there was a repair there, or there was a different,
Yes.
and they didn't,
They didn't mesh like.
No, but I think if they can put fabric around that joint and backfill it, that'll keep the silt from getting back into it. Because it doesn't look like the pipes collapsed, it just misaligned.
No.
So, I can call the landowner back and see if they can get a Tyler to come in and fix it and then bill it to DD6, or, what's that?
Is that John Mulder's property?
I don't know who, but, Gertz is the one that farms it, so.
Like,
Mike, yes, yep. I think it was first name, all I could think of was his voice. So, if you wanted to proceed that way, I can just tell him to find Tyler to fix it and bill it.
I suppose.
I think
We have a hard
that's-
time, if the farmers, a lot of times when farmers call Tyler, they get a little bit better response than we do, just because they don't. It's on the edge of the field too, so I don't think it's gonna affect too many things to the stream, but we don't wanna have that cave in either, so.
Okay, well, I'm
So we'll proceed that way then.
for that.
T38, the paving went from the south to the north. They made it to the plant site, to the quarry yesterday. And then they picked up and started in town and started coming south. I think by the end of last night, they were at Adams Plumbing. They were worried about weather today, but they took off from south, or from there and headed south some more. I don't know how far they'll get with the weather, but they've been knocking on doors or trying to do the best they can at getting a hold of people the day before or even that morning. Sometimes we hit them, sometimes we don't. Everybody got a letter before the project started, so I know some people still get a little irritated that they don't know exactly what's going on, but we did notify them prior to the project start that this was happening. They gotta be vigilant of what's going on, so, haven't had too many issues, had some phone calls about how to get in and out, but, project seems to be going really well. Not too many issues going on, so hopefully people stay off of it.
I'll put it on my
Yeah,
Facebook.
so, I know last time I brought it up, it was that day that somebody drove on it, so I shouldn't have said anything, but whatever. We'll see what happens.
You have consideration of new hire, we wanna move this.
Yeah, no, I've got that on
9
too.
o'clock is,
Yep, that's fine. I'd like to go to the rock run first if I could, and we've got quotes back in from the rock run.
Let us interrupt you first.
It's 9 o'clock.
Oh, you guys got a public
we
hearing?
have a public
I
hearing
didn't know
at
you had a
9,
public
I
hearing.
was trying to shove you a little bit.
No, that's fine, I didn't know you had a public hearing, I didn't grab the agenda, so. You wanna trade documents and stuff too? Sure.
It is 9 o'clock, and it is time for the public hearing on the proposed amendment to the current for year 19 county budget. Barb, let you have the floor. Good morning. Rachel, good morning.
This time of year, we do an amendment to clean up some of the departments that have run over from unexpected expenditures that have come up throughout the year. So that's kind of what this is. You guys all got this sheet, right?
Yes.
So kind of explain for each, like for public safety, clerk of court had a grand jury bill. And that's the first time we've gotten that in years, but it was something that you never know how much that's gonna be, so that ran over, so we gotta fix that. Let's see, medical examiner fees have gone up, we've had more coroner fees lately, so we have to put some more money in that. Physical health, I'm closing out the county care fund because there is no facility anymore, so I'm fixing that up. We also put in more money in for juvenile and substance abuse. I talked to Megan and she said there could be some unexpected expenditures from that too, so we always want to put more money in.
Especially
Right
now
now.
that Reynolds added that we could
Right,
be
because
doing it
if
for
you
kids.
don't have it, you can't spend it, so we're putting it in now while we can. Number 8 is, government service to residents. That's our software and maintenance costs on our voting equipment. When we have an election, we have software costs, and then we have maintenance on the machines so that we keep them in running order so that election day they're working. So we had to put more money in for that. Number 9, our administration is, a lot of that's in the 99s where we have increased expenditures from the RISE project. We pretty much did not have to borrow any money for that, but that kind of sucked down some of, like my attorney fees and engineer fees. The project was taken out of general basic, and then capital projects, we used local option money to pay off the rest of the RISE project, so that's what kind of put me in the hole there a little bit as far as budget, not cash, but I just have to do that to correct that. Debt service, I put more money in for housing, for economic development. And then we have the TIF rebate payments, that kind of stuff. County service building had some building repairs that wasn't expected, but it came up. So that's pretty much in a nutshell why I'm fixing what I am. So hopefully I've covered us till the end of June and we'll be good to go.
And you said you took that rise from what account?
It was a rise road that Rich could explain too. It was
On
from,
Valent Road?
yeah, Osage and in front of Valent there.
And then but you said you had to take it out of some fund to.
The engineering fees, we have to take out of general basic. We can't use capital projects or local option. So we try to keep them separate. Capital projects you can only use for construction and building improvements and purchasing new building.
And we still have to tie that project up yet. It's
Huh?
not complete, I mean, it's completed, we just got final paperwork.
It's done, yeah.
We just got
This
paperwork
is
with you.
just stuff we spent throughout the year and now I'm catching up. Yeah. But I thought we did good by not having to borrow money and pay interest on it.
You
you know.
got.
So I used the money I had available to do it, so.
So we have to approve this
Well, we have to ask the public if there's any comments.
public comment. Is there any public comment on this?
And I did not have any comments directed to my
No
office
oral
prior.
or written comments?
Same here, supervisors also.
I didn't have anything either.
I have not.
Nothing, we can close the public hearing.
I guess you're gonna have to walk me through this
Okay.
whole,
So you have to declare the public hearing closed.
but this is a closed hearing now,
No.
or this is closed,
Yeah, let's sell it
And,
at 9:08.
9:08.
Okay, then you can move on to number 7,
Approve
the appropriations resolution.
resolution.
Correct.
So this there in the bottom here is signed later. This will.
So move.
Stanley has made a motion,
Second.
Barb has made a motion. Roll call, Stanley,
Aye.
Barb,
Aye.
Smollett, aye. Appropriations resolution 1035-19 has been approved. Thank you, Barb.
Thank you.
Rachel. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
It was 9:00. so Richard, I will let you have the floor again.
All right, so we had our rock run quotes for, what we would call fiscal year 20. We had one quote package from Folks. The quote was for $13.62 a ton. That includes hauling. Last year we were at $12.57 a ton, and that included hauling. We're about 400 tons heavier this year than we were last year. Now, the difference in pricing is obviously there's fuel costs and things like that, but we had, in this package versus last year, we had tried a top cover wear course aggregate. We tried on some gravel roads, and it was a special gradation that kind of a washed half-inch material over that Lindsay, a gradation 9, and so we added more to that. We wanted to see how this stuff was going to tie in this year. We tried some small locations last year, but we bumped up some of that, so that kind of added a little bit more cost to it because it can only be manufactured in one location, and that's the Dino Quarry. And a lot of the rock we're going to put it, a lot of the roads we're putting on is going to be in the southeast corner of the county, so there's a little bit more hauling. So since the letting, since the quotes came in, Lindsay and I have been discussing a modified gradation to that chips, so we can kind of maybe cut some costs a little bit on that, to the tune of, what was it, about, we
That
could,
was about
$12,000
$12,000 there.
We probably save a little bit of money if we maybe do a 3/4 inch instead of a 1/2 inch material that can be produced in the other local quarries, the closer quarries that are closer where this stuff's put down, so. We're still evaluating that, but, the way it sits right now, the total quote was for $911,314.20.
What's that again, Rich?
911,314.20. And that included, the southeast corner getting that gradation, what we call 33M, which is 1 1/8 inch, and then we have some stuff from about Osage north to the state line, kind of in the middle of the county. From St. Ansgar to Stacyville, that whole wedge up there, getting that modified 1 1/8 inch gradation as well. Just to try it in some other areas and see how well it's working, so. Just wanted to give you an update on that, and like I said, Lindsay and I will be discussing some things with some pricing, maybe be able to save a little bit of money anyway.
The other thing that I kind of brought up, I don't know where you're at with the TIF money, but we have talked about in the office of offering a cash discount. That if all, that all comes up in, one lump, that helps us a lot. I don't know how you go about doing that with the county, like if it's a regular job, like for line and stuff, we give everybody a cash discount, they pay within 10 days. But I don't wanna, how do you do it if you guys tell us when the money might be coming, so we can set that date pending, if it's by July 1st, but I didn't wanna do that if you guys didn't think that money was gonna be that prepaid rock.
Guess I'm not sure at this moment.
Okay, maybe you can check into that for us?
And it could be a substantial cash discount.
Yeah, I mean, 2% would be
Yeah,
almost $20,000.
so,
Well, basically, we hold the public hearing on the 11th of June. And we got 2 weeks after that, if there's a reverse referendum request. And then how many days after that normally does it take Jeff in order to put out the bond or bond request? It's 3-4 weeks, isn't it? I mean,
I would say you're probably looking close to a month.
you're probably looking towards the end of July that we'd finally, that we'd actually have.
you guys could be done hauling by then, I mean, if you guys started next week, so that might be a little bit.
So I mean, I might just put something in there, really after July, it doesn't help us a ton, so I don't know if it's even worth putting out there or not. I know you guys, I just wanted to bring it up.
Maybe not, maybe it can't be doable with the timeline.
We gotta do it the legal route.
Whatever, it's just an option.
I mean, I guess we can put it out there, if it doesn't, if we don't get paid by then, you just don't get the discount.
Sure.
That's probably the safest thing to do,
Yeah.
and I don't know if that July, well, I guess we'll just throw it out there, and if you guys can take advantage of it, great, or some of it.
Yeah, because if you guys wanted to start early, it's a matter of when the TIF money can be transferred in.
And
so
then
we can
you
pay.
guys can start spending money after July 1st for next year, right?
Well, right,
But you don't wanna be spending money,
I can't spend this year's budget on this rock run because it's already been spent last spring or last July, so, and the budget can't take it, I can tell you that right now. We couldn't start a rock run with the secondary road budget.
and you don't wanna start paying July 1st with regular monies if you're gonna use that TIF money to pay for the rock either, right?
Well, stuff could be shifted around in the budget a little bit because the way the county looks at it, it's all one item. The DOT thing kind of changed, but I've got the categories are different when you're, we put a lot of money into equipment and then very little, but we could get, what we have in the maintenance side, we could probably, there's still money in that, so we could start spending that and not probably go through all of it anyway, so.
Because once that's approved, then they'll wire that money
Yep, they'll transfer
to
the
the
money.
account,
Yep.
transfer it to.
It isn't like there's zero balance
the
in that rock
treasurer.
run fund in
Yes,
my budget.
Yep.
There's
I
some
mean, we
there.
are gonna spend 900 and some thousand on rock regardless if it's TIF or if it's out of general.
Well, the difference is whether it was not TIF, I've got bigger changes to make because we put all the eggs in the basket for equipment, so.
Right, but I mean,
Yep,
but not worrying about the equipment or.
Right, if we had to,
about
we'll
the
take the
rock.
money out of the equipment, put it back in
So, I
there, so
mean-
the money gets spent, it's just.
Come the 1st of July, we should be able to really write the check, and like you say, then we use our TIF money, cause that's what you have to have,
Well, I don't-
that anyway.
Yeah, I guess I don't have.
I'll
it
just
right
send
now.
something to Rich and you guys can figure out if you can send it or not.
Yep,
Yeah,
we'll,
we can figure that.
we'll stay in touch there, so. Just wanted to give you an update on what the rock run is gonna cost, and that's not including everything we put down this year already. I think we've got it estimated that about $250,000 to FEMA right now from all the flooding and heavy loads on the roads, so we'll see what they give us. No more questions on that. We had put an offer out to an individual a few weeks ago for a new hire who got wooed back by his previous employer and kind of bailed on us, which making yourself better is no problem to me. If you're gonna better yourself, you can do it however you want. So, we pulled the next person on our list in line. Tice Rustad was the next guy that we thought had the most experience with equipment, and thought maybe we'd, throw an offer out to him to see if, he'd join our crews. I offered pending board approval. Questions, comments?
Trusting your judgment.
I don't see an issue, I guess.
Is that your motion? I'll second it.
I can't make the motion.
Yes, you can, you're a
Well,
3-person board, you
I
can.
let you choose.
I'll make the motion,
Okay. Barb made a motion.
or also move.
Stanley.
Second.
Second.
All right.
Roll call, Barb.
Aye.
Stan.
Aye.
Smollett, aye. So, you got your new man approved.
He'll have to do 2 weeks.
Does he know how to run a hoe, Lindsay?
He does.
I can't say anything positive or negative about him, but
He can run equipment.
good hire.
Okay.
All right, if you don't have any questions, I'm gonna zip out of here, otherwise.
Have at her, Rich. Thank you, sir.
I got one comment, quick if I can, while Rich is still here.
Yep.
There's been a lot of talk in the state about everybody's having these problems with the roads from Minneapolis all the way down to southern Iowa. And so the association has sent out something to the county engineers.
Your Lime Rock Association?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And then, you hear scuttlebutt about people, rocks, crap, and this and that. My answer to people is, we could put better rock and different rock and try different things and more rock by simply shutting roads down. And that usually makes them quiet, because everybody wants every single road taken care of and, passable in any scenario. And at some point, it's like, we got a grid that's almost impossible to upkeep.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yep.
And so that's, the next solution is to, and I was telling Rich yesterday, the best road I've driven on lately is the level B, because nobody's got traffic on it.
I see a level
Yeah.
B. I see a new level B road the other day.
I mean, it's crap anyway. We had a truck got stuck down by Garner on a gravel road, and it's bad. It's just a crazy.
And I've talked to
crazy-
people that have been out in South Dakota, I've talked to people that are pulling,
Nebraska.
they got the same problem, they're using, and these are people that come to this county, and they say, wow, and these are guys from other counties saying, wow, you guys got good roads up here, what are you guys doing? I don't, we're,
That's what we
It's
gotta,
just funny
that's
when
what
you-
we gotta spread that rumor.
well,
I think some of the things we're doing, trying different things is helping. I think the big rock a little bit, and
we've
this,
gotten a lot of
we're
gradations
being
out there.
progressive on it, so.
Well, I just heard a rumor that would shut them down. I'm not recommending this, but I just was to a meeting in which someone brought up that they had read that some county, but they could not remember where, and they were trying to find it to prove that they actually read this, that they were charging the landowner 80% of what, if they wanted their road paved or whatever,
Yep.
they were gonna charge the landowner.
If it's a
80%.
paving, there are counties that do that, but as far as maintenance goes, we do have that ordinance, the thing is, I think, you guys might be too, a little bit squirmish about hitting everybody up saying, you're damaging the road, you're gonna pay for it, because you're gonna get a lot of feedback that's not good about, you got 4-axle manure
But
running on these soft
sometimes,
roads.
Rich, when they do
And you're gonna get the
literally
feedback.
destroy the road though,
Mhm.
we have to say something.
Well, like,
Especially if they're ringing the phone off the hook, complaining.
well, and usually the people that are calling are the ones that aren't doing the destroying, they're the ones that have to travel on it, on the, on the other side of it, so. But I think, as Greg maybe mentioned, weeks ago that in order for that, or maybe it was even Mark, that in order for that ordinance to even be, before you can activate, you gotta send the sheriff out. And you have to, first of all, you have to know exactly who's doing it, and then send the sheriff out so he can give you a citation, and then it can be,
You'd have to be able to prove it,
so.
pictures, something.
And it's not like it's some places it's difficult. And some places people are calling in advance, telling us what they're doing. That's a lot better than destroying it and then saying, oh, by the way, because we were trying to maintain roads throughout, if we know somebody's got a lot going on, we can try to be there and try to keep it in the best shape we can before it gets too bad. But we spent a lot of time on a few roads these last few weeks, so. A lot of money, it's never enough.
We have put a lot of bigger rock on the road, which a lot of people wanted. But come August, when it's bone dry and then big marbles are rolling around, somebody's gonna probably squeal.
Yeah. And just for your insight, I think I've maybe mentioned this before, but 500 tons is a lot of rock at one time. But 500 tons of per mile on a 28-foot wide road, a mile length, doesn't give you an inch of cover. It does not. If you want 6 inches of cover of new rock on a road, you need about 5,000 tons a mile. At even say $10 a ton, what does that put you at for a cover? It's not cheap, but the roads are built on dirt, and once they're dry, they can be pretty stable. It's when they're wet. So you get that thin cover on top to seal the road to keep the water from penetrating, and that's the key, is to get a good seal on top. And once it starts pumping, you've lost that seal. So.
I'm sure you've been too busy, you didn't come across anything that said comparison pricing with the paving and the gravel.
Oh yeah, I know you can, you add the cost of paving in per mile, just the cost of paving versus gravel, and there's no comparison. I forget what the number was.
It's huge, isn't it?
I think it was a yearly cost of about $5,000 or $6,000 a mile for hard surface versus maybe 1,000 or less for rock, just because both roads start off at the same base, and now you're maintaining this one every 3 years, and this one you put the cost of the new pavement and you put it out for 30 years, but you still got to repave it when it's worn out. Those are how those costs, and that's just the material costs. That doesn't include the snow removals and all the other costs that go into maintaining.
Salt,
that road.
chloride.
Yeah. So just on the material basis alone, it's way more expensive. So,
Okay.
I had a spreadsheet made up.
Just
Kind of
makes me
forgot
feel
about
better
Well,
about
it's
decisions I've
expensive
made.
because you have to include that replacement cost, or it's not comparing anything. Because you're already replacing the rock every 3 years or 2 years, depending on the road. You're including that cost, so you gotta include the resurfacing cost of that other hard surface. So. Anyway,
Thank
Well,
you,
I was
Rich.
happy to learn Sunday that I was the cause of all of the frost boils in
Yeah.
Mitchell County.
you walk on water too?
You've gotta look in the sky like I do, Stan, and say, pray to him.
So we have approval to start hauling every water, is that something you have to?
They don't have to, we can go ahead and, we don't have to talk, but I gotta get to Worth County.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Rich.
Okay.
Yeah.
Items of note, meetings attended. Bart.
Okay. I went out to the conservation and I took Adam and Chelsea some stuff that I had picked up from way back from our supervisor training conference. I kept having it at every meeting thinking that they would be stopping in and they weren't, and so I took it out there. One was like a book idea for marketing that Chelsea could use with kids, and another was like lists of counties that have watercraft programs, since, we're talking about the kayaking and stuff, and it also listed safety rules that went along with them, and then I also gave them that same list that I gave you, Lowell, as far as possible seminars we can choose to put on from Heartland Insurance. And let's see, I gave him the heads up also for Lindsay's group, as far as if they do decide with the TV trail, the kinds of questions that an insurance person would ask them. And they seemed very appreciative of that, because he said, I doubt anybody had thought of those things quite yet. The election poll demonstration, I'm gonna let you talk about that, Steve, because I only got to go to part of it and had to leave to another meeting. County Social Services, I was at the meeting and beforehand, the Human Services Committee part of it. We met for over 3 hours in Charles City, and we worked more on the employee handbook with attorney Paul Griefey for the transition of unifying all the social service employees
He's not really an
under
attorney.
them. He's not really, what is his
He's not an
title?
attorney.
What's
He's
his,
just a human resources. He's
just
his
a
own-
human
He has his
resource
own
guy?
company.
Oh, okay, I did not realize, I thought
No,
he
he's not
actually
an attorney.
was an attorney. Interesting. Most of the time, we listen to Kingston's insurance options for those employees, which would include our Megan Teets. She'd be going over to that. And Paul also explained to us that, and I talked with Shannon and Lowell about this, and Pam, that most of the counties are actually doing FMLA incorrectly. Apparently, there's something out now that you can't ask for a doctor's excuse in 3 days, and you have to wait 18 days, and if the employee fits the FMLA criteria, you actually have to use that because it trumps over all medical leave. And if you want that employee to be paid, then of course you have to go into your medical leave bank, and it was really confusing to me. And juvenile detention, I mentioned to the sheriff, and he was aware of it, that they will transport people down there for $40 an hour, and that saves up a lot of his employee time. Their insurances are going up 4.8%. The census has been low, so they're working on reaching out to make people aware of their services, and they found out from feedback from people that they did not like the long admission packet that they were putting out for subacute, and so they shortened it, and so that should help. They had to put in a new furnace and water heater. A deer hit one of their old vans, and they fixed it because they were almost hoping it would total out. It didn't. They had complicated medical dealings with a toe amputation, and one that had to have numerous dressing changes. So they definitely had extra output of money this last month. Both social services and juvenile detention have mentioned that Governor Reynolds is adding children's services, like for mental health and whatnot, but so far they haven't put any money in to back it. Now the juvenile detention, they have a monthly budget of like $1 million, but they really only have about 4,000 in reserve, so I'm not sure how they could take care of all that extra output with with the younger people. Let's see, then I had last night housing committee before economic development meeting, and we approved 7 loans for the housing project. 2 commercial, and the rest were homes. And there were some, it was a variety of prices, but there was 2 in there for $185,000. So that should make some people happy. That would be a little lower income. We discussed several things. We were asked to be involved with St. Ansgar Assisted Living also, and they decided that we would be a supportive resource only, but not getting heavily involved with it. And we will not be contributing to the Fairgrounds log home restoration. And there was one from in the past housing extension made just of 30 days for Lynn Heeman due to the weather. And so that'll be done soon. Director Tony is working with Travis of the St. Ansgar Enterprise on a CD about Mitchell County. And we discussed the role of economic development should, because this is a trend all over the state of branching out more to helping promote tourism. But that CD would certainly help that too. So, that's it.
That's your meetings, Barb?
Back to your housing, those 5 houses, that's for this next year?
Yes. And they know that that's depending on how things all go through. They're all aware of
So
that.
they could start, but if
Which I'm
something
thinking
goes wrong,
some might start and some might not.
yeah, but I mean, just so that they
They're
understand
aware.
that it's their responsibility in case something goes amok, that they're not.
Yep,
Okay.
I believe that's all in writing, so, yeah.
Okay, Stanley, you have meetings attended?
I had County Conservation Board, and basically, they done a Wapsie Great Western Line Trail update, burn and planting. Again, Adam went through that they've done, I think, around 500 acres of burn this year, and been successful on that. And then they basically updated on general projects and that, and like the Stacyville Park. It was too wet for Pops in order to start on tile and that earlier this year, so they shifted to another project, and so it will be almost August before I understand that they'll be back. But so Stacyville will pretty much be closed all year, but then they hope to have that open next year. And if it turns out like they think it is, that in 2 years from now, people will have forgotten that we haven't been able to utilize it. And because, I mean, if you don't have, if you're connected to the city sewer and that, that's gonna be a big improvement that you don't have to move your trailer and do some of those things. I think you'll see a lot of usage over there at Stacyville, so
I think so too.
that was my meeting.
Okay, well, Barb reminded me of the meeting I forgot about. Meeting on the Iowa, the Precinct Atlas Consortium. That has to do with the new voting. How we will have new voting will be done in the future, and it was discussed that this is not to replace, because we'll always have to have the original backup. So,
The register.
the presenter's name was Tammy Norman.
Correct. From my side.
And she's been with ISAC for 20 years. And what she's promoting is a software program that it's owned by 79 different memberships. And the membership is $3,500 a year, correct?
Believe so. Bring it with me.
This was created by Ken Klein of Cerro Gordo. And she had run some test runs, and with multiple scenarios or issues, including mistakes and how to correct. And we have the ability to buy all the equipment from the consortium. And we can order the equipment half 1 year and half the next year to lower the cost for Mitchell County.
Well, there's be a 2080 agreement we'll have to sign, so I can get that to the county attorney to review.
Okay. So, anyways.
So you liked it?
I did, yeah. I've seen it years ago, we just haven't moved forward with it. It's probably time now.
It sounds like a lot of,
Not
most
many
of the counties are
haven't
doing
done
it.
anymore.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard of a county saying they don't like it.
With 79 counties, it's already got it. It's proven. You know, we're not on the first of the list, so
Yeah, we're not
it's
the
been
experiment.
run, it's been used, so
Correct.
we have the ability to beat out on some of that issues and mistakes. Anyways, if there's any more I should add to that, Lowell?
No, that's good.
I've got a few other meetings. Had Floyd, Mitchell County, Chickasaw landfill meeting the other day, and they discussed their financial statements. The new Whacker Packer, $750,000. That's what that new machine's gonna cost.
To replace the one that wasn't it like $650?
They have the one that burned up. The Finance Committee, they had a discussion and possible action, and what this was, Tim Zoll is coming off the Finance Committee, and another person, and her name is Deb, and unfortunately, I do not know her last name. Sorry about that. Update on the shed. They're gonna repair the old shed, and they're cleaning off some of the equipment that was in there, and the old Packer was getting hauled off. They did a review and approval of a letter to the municipalities regarding city cleanups, which it passed. They're trying to get compliance entrance, the ADA compliance for the main office door there. Disabilities are having problems coming in the doorway, so they discussed that. And also, somebody brought in a bunch of metal rebar, just plain old, wasn't even used, didn't have any concrete on it, it was just a big pile of rebar. It was dumped. That comes up, wraps up in their machines. It's a waste. I mean, rebar, brand new, but end up, it could be recycled. So they're trying to figure out a way to get the people that are bringing this stuff into, rather than bring it to the landfill, go talk to a local junker and have them pick it up. You know, it's a win-win for everybody. Less junk in the landfill, and somebody makes some money on it
Yeah.
rather than getting wasted. And insurance renewal was discussed. Their insurance cost was $25,016, and that's for a year. It's Heartland Insurance, and they passed that. The old business they discussed was our generator. They're still toying with the idea of buying a new one, and they're probably leaning more to buying a new generator than acquiring ours out here at the old county care facility. So, anyways, their next meeting will be second Thursday in June, and that will be a full board meeting. My next meeting was FMC DCAT, and it was called to order. 10 people were in attendance. Kathy Babcock from Chickasaw County Board of Health, she and Jody Hartz, they gave a discussion. They also approved minutes from the last meeting. Update on motivational interviews contract. Todd Roberts received the contract, and he will have 3 sessions, and they'll be able to do up to 90 people. Discuss designation of funds for 2020. That was approved. Bid for FMC P4C DCAT coordinator and the budget. That was approved. Discuss transfer of funds for drug testing for 20 and 20 for year 21. That was approved. Review invoice for resource book. They have a little book that they give out, hand out, so people can read and get information about FMC DCAT. Anyways, they're going to get more new ones, and they're going to revamp it a little bit, and the cost is going to be $5,740.35. We approved, so they're going to go along with that. Anyways, so much for that meeting. And then last night was FMC Early Childhood of Iowa, and we had 8 board members and 7 preschool presenters and 4 providers were there. Anyways, it was called to order, had a quorum, reviewed the minutes of the last meeting, passed. Anyways, we had 7 presenters from preschools, and they discussed the different things that they have in their preschool classes. Majority of them are from 3 to 4 to 5-year-old in their classes. They have different days in which these classes, and all discuss the problem they had with last winter's weather. was hard getting the little kids to and from and having the classes. And they did discuss the different things. They had sheriff people come in, police departments come in, fire department come in, and they had different, they went to libraries, and they had all kinds of little fun, interesting things, and it's all about learning for the children. They had a contract, fiscal agent contract for 2020, and then there was discussion and then board action, which was approved. They had the early childhood Iowa audit was received, no issues. The bill had been paid for the audit, and the audit was approved, and they had passed with flying colors. The state also approval of the designation. The state, which was that big meeting that we had last month ago, where the state come in and got all the board members together and some of the providers, and they talked and discussed what was going on, monies approved, funding. Anyways, this was from the state, and this is the state's way of checking to see that we're appropriately using the funding the state gives to us. Anyways, passed with flying colors on that. So, that all went good. We had a review of the FMC ECI director, and it was conducted by the executive committee, and it was also a performance review, and for a contract of 2020, and everybody was going to keep it the same, but everybody was happy with the way Mrs. Christensen had done been the director and done everything. The only issue that they had was that for Boyd County, their health insurance on a single policy will go up $214 a month. Glad that isn't here. Anyways, this was reviewed and approved, passed. And then we had 4 provider reports. Tail end of the meeting, we had a director report, and also we had public commentary, which nobody said a darn thing, so the meeting was adjourned. And that is my meetings. So I hope I didn't bore everybody. Sorry.
No.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have a meeting I have to go to with Jason, and you didn't have a ballot meeting evidently?
I did not, because the people that own Valent was here, and they did not have a meeting.
Okay, first of the year, it was stated that they were gonna have the smell cleaned up by Memorial Day. It's only a few days away. 2 weeks ago on a Saturday, I was cleaning up my garage for the cleanup, got the stuff out, and God, the smell broke loose. It's terrible. And, you know, not everybody's affected by that the same way I am, but I fill up with phlegm, start coughing, and I had to leave my stuff outside and go in the house and lay down. Now, they're not going to meet the deadline, because when I said what year, when we met after the first of the year, that they were going to have it cleaned up on Memorial Day, people laughed. But they've been saying Memorial Day for at least the last 3 or 4 years. It hasn't happened yet. So, you know, something has to be done where there's some teeth put in this, where they get fined. You know, it's costing taxpayers money out of their own pockets.
The thing with the fining part, that would have to be through the DNR.
But they're misleading us when they tell us they're gonna do something.
Well, they're trying. And I'm not saying that it's, you know, trying is, it's not accomplishing anything, but the weather has been affecting them just like it has us with the roads and.
But for 4.5, 5, it'll be 5 years in June when they start production. they've had plenty of good weather in 5 years.
When
Well-
people, when
well-
people laughed, Dean, they weren't laughing at you, they were laughing because they agreed with you, that they didn't believe it would be done.
Well, that makes me feel better.
No, I seriously,
But I know at least one person that was at the meeting told, you know, they didn't look at it that way.
oh, no, that's how I looked at it, as people were agreeing with you.
Everybody would like to see it resolved, and they are trying to resolve it, and they're spending large amounts of money to try and do it. And again, the weather is affecting their ability to get their scrubbers up. They keep coming up with plans and ideas, and they're trying, you know, they're getting the equipment in to try to resolve the odor. But the weather has not been good for them either. So just bear with them. I hate to
You
say
know,
it, you've been bearing with them for 5 years, but hopefully they can resolve this.
But, you know, it takes away things that you like to do. You can't go out in your yard and set it out in your yard, you never know when it's gonna happen. Quite often, when I walk the dogs at 10:30 at night, it's terrible. But most people are in their houses, so they don't notice it.
I find it embarrassing when we're trying to get people to move here,
Yeah,
and if they come visit,
I did a funeral a few weeks ago at the Catholic cemetery, and people kept turning around, like, what is this? It's
I
horrible.
remember last July 4th.
Oh, yeah.
People in and,
So are they gonna go July 4th now, or, because I don't think they'll be done by.
I do believe they're trying.
They
That's
are
all I can
trying,
say.
They're spending a lot of money for something that's, you know, on air quality. They want it to get so that everybody can live with it.
You know, if, in the Sunday Globe, they had, Skipper wrote a column about economic development. And he used Clear Lake and he used Mason City. And basically, what happened here was the same thing that happened in Mason City. We didn't know what was gonna come.
Clear Lake.
Well, Clear Lake,
Clear Lake didn't
Clear Lake
divulge-
came out fine.
They didn't
but Mason
divulge the
City was
company
prestige.
where Mason City did divulge.
Yeah, but the McKesson plant worked out fine for Clear Lake. Both of them were kept secret. But when the Prestige plant came out in Mason City, you know, that's when citizens got involved. And I don't think any of those people on the Economic Development Committee had ever been to Japan probably, and don't realize the stench that's in that country. And if anybody watched the Olympics, the Winter Olympics, people were wearing masks to watch their ice skater on TVs in Japan. They were wearing masks because the air's so bad. And it's bad, it's even worse in China, but it's bad there too. And, you know, I was asked to make assessments on the fact that it was gonna cost $150 million and got no information. And you know that's true, isn't it, Stan? I'm not lying to you folks. They wanted me to make an assessment, but they would give me no information. I didn't get any information until the I's were dotted and the T's were crossed. And then I said to him, I said, you know, this is going to stink. I told him.
There was a rumor going around that they were going to cover it up with a fragrance, and
It didn't work.
I was gonna say, I hope they don't do that, because
But
It didn't
That's-
work. That machine didn't work.
that's not solving the problem. And that would probably even be more toxic.
yeah, well, there's no story about that when we were in high school. About the things we hung on our mirrors, you know.
Oh.
Yeah.
But
They're trying. And they're
I
gonna,
do believe
and
they're
again,
trying.
like I discussed earlier, the man that's in charge of the plant out there, his head is on the platter. He knows that if something doesn't get resolved here, you're gonna have a new head there. You know, so he's trying his darndest. He's trying to make things But again,
It's frustrating.
it is frustrating. Unfortunately, burning and scrubbers, you know, they're gonna eventually come to where they are going to figure something out. I hope it isn't that they figure out they can't resolve it, but they keep trying.
I would, if I were betting, I would think that's what the side I would bet on. They can't fix it.
Well, they keep dumping lots and lots, millions of dollars they're spending trying to resolve this.
Well, I gotta go for a meeting with Jason, but I'm sorry if I ticked you off by speaking my mind, but I'll
No,
tell you,
you're-
5 years is
No.
way too long.
I understand
And
your,
Stan was on the board, and Stan knows that I'm not lying about that information, that I never got any information on that. Isn't that right, Stan?
Yeah.
So,
but they are trying. And
thank you for your time.
you betcha, thank you.
Say hi to Jason.
Oh, yeah.
Take care, Dean. Okay, manure management plans is our next.
Lipson Finisher Farm, 4845 Kirkwood Avenue, St. Ansgar, and Nate's Finisher Farm, 1047 Addison Avenue, Orchard.
Okay, so that is our manure management plan updates. Next would be clerk of court report for April. And you have that in front of you, so I, Stacy Olson, clerk of Maine County and State, do hereby certify the following is true and correct statement of the fees collected by me in my office for the month ending April 30th, 2019. And that total is $3,670.91. Do we have any motions?
No, just so noted.
Oh, just so noted, okay. So noted. Board appointment to conservation. Stanley, can you give us the information on that?
I guess I wasn't aware that this was gonna be on today, but it's, an appointment of the present board member, she,
Lori King.
Lori King.
That term expires the end of June.
And she would be for.
we don't have to do anything today, I mean, like you say, it's, doesn't expire till the end of June, we could wait and, but it's up to you,
Well,
I would recommend we reappoint her, but
I don't see a problem with that.
And it was gonna be for Tracy Newberry.
Right.
Correct.
She filled up the unexpired term.
Correct.
She was
Yes,
appointed.
yes. Well, it sounds like they totally were very comfortable with her and said she'd been a solid member attending all the meetings
I'll
and
second her motion.
so,
There you go.
yes.
Barb has made a motion, Stanley has seconded, roll call, Barb.
Aye.
Stanley.
Aye.
Smolik, aye. Okay, do we have any public comments before we go to number 9?
If you had them already.
Oh, no.
I just have a statement, I wanted to set the record straight. You call that down in the River Road, the two poles?
Yes?
In the early, about 60 years ago, my dad and I used to fish down there all the time. And back then, it was called Smoky Joe's.
Smoky Joe.
It wasn't called two poles until the poles were put in later. And right across the road, which is all covered in sumac right now, there's an Indian burial mound in there that you can't see anymore. I've told Adam about it, and he's never got around to check it, but that's what it was called originally, 60-some years ago. I remember even seeing that old Indian down there wearing a top hat. He used to camp down there.
And Smoky Joe was his name.
Yep, they called him Smoky Joe's, that's why they always were going to Smoky Joe's fishing.
Oh, great story.
Okay. Well, thank you for that information.
Just thought I'd update you.
All
Well,
right.
I'm still here.
Smoky Joe.
Okay, we'll slide on to number 9. And this is a fireworks permit. It has been requested by Doug Havig and it's for Jeff Michaels.
So moved.
Stanley has made a motion. Barb has seconded. Roll call. Stanley?
Aye.
Barb?
Aye.
Smolik, aye. So we have approved the fireworks permit for Jeff Michaels. And, any other comments? like 8 to 10. Thank you, everyone.